This was by far one of the creepiest things I've ever found while out exploring in the woods. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of or seen the movie Annabelle. It's about a doll that is possessed by a demon. And this doll that I found in the woods reminds me of the Annabelle doll in that movie. Well, there's no faces, but you get it. As soon as I saw this thing sitting there in the trees, I felt a chill go down my spine. I mean, just look at this thing. It's creepy just looking at it from afar. But then when you get up close to it, it just gets worse. Well, I decided to take a closer look at it. The first thing I noticed was its left hand. Its left hand was stretched out like it was trying to grab onto something. And its fingers were all bent at weird angles. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized just how bad its condition was. Its whole body was decayed, rotting away. And even though this thing was already dead, it almost looked like it was infested with bugs and other creepy crawlies. It looked like it had been sitting here in these woods for decades. And that's when I started to wonder what exactly this thing was. Who was it? Why was it out here in the middle of nowhere? And most importantly, why did it look so freaking creepy? So I did what anyone else would do in this situation. I picked up my phone and I started to do some investigating. The only thing I could find was this article online which talked about how this very same doll had gone missing 30 years ago in these very same woods. According to the article, this doll was possessed by a demon, and the demon inside of it made it come to life at night. And that's when it would go around and scare people who were walking through the woods. I didn't really believe that story, but there had to be at least some truth to it, right? Because who else would leave a doll out here in the middle of nowhere? And why would they leave it there 30 years ago and never come back for it? So I just couldn't help but wonder what was the real story behind this doll. I came up with a plan. I'm gone nah. Go back here tomorrow with a camera crew, and we re-gone nah. Try and figure out exactly what happened to this doll and what the hell it is doing out here in the middle of nowhere. I woke up bright and early the next morning. I called up my boy Nate, and we headed out into the woods. We brought along a camera crew because I wanted to document everything. As we walked deeper into the woods, I told the camera crew all about the doll that I found and the legend that goes along with it. Honestly, the more I talked about it, the more scared I became. I mean, I didn't want to scare them off, so I tried my best to keep it together. But I think I may have convinced myself a little too much because I started to feel uneasy about the whole situation. But we finally made it to the tree where I had found the doll the day before, but it was gone. I searched everywhere, but I couldn't find the doll anywhere. I was starting to think that maybe it was all in my head, that I had imagined the whole thing. Then I saw something strange. It was a bunch of leaves and dirt piled up at the base of the tree, and it looked kind of familiar. I don't know why I did what I did next. Maybe it was the fact that I hadn't slept the entire night before. Or maybe it was because I was convinced that this doll was possessed. But I reached down and I started digging through the leaves. Guess what? I found the doll. And to make matters worse, as I pulled it out of the ground, I felt something wet and slimy on my hands. I looked down and I realized that the doll's body was covered in this slimy ooze. And when I wiped it off on my pants, it stained them black. Well, I quickly dropped the doll and took off running. Ran as fast as I could, as far away from that tree as I could, and I didn't stop until I got back to the car. Once I got back to the car, I quickly drove home. Once I got home, I threw the doll away. I haven't seen it since. But a week later, I started to feel sick. I went to the hospital, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. They said I was perfectly healthy, but I still felt awful. And that's when I realized I had gotten infected from the doll. The infection spread throughout my entire body. I could feel it in my bones, in my blood. As it spread, it began to control me. I could feel myself changing, becoming something else. Luckily, I was able to fight it off, but it left me weak. That's when I realized I had made a grave mistake. The doll wasn't just any ordinary doll. It was possessed by a demon, and it had used me as a vessel to get into this world. I know you probably think I'm crazy. You probably think that I'm making all this up for views. But I can tell you right now, I am 100% serious. I've never experienced anything like this before in my life. I'll never forget the feeling of that demon inside of me, trying to take over, trying to use me as its vessel. I'll never forget the way that it felt when I was digging through those leaves, when I first pulled that doll out of the ground. I knew. I just knew that I was in danger. And if I hadn't gotten out of there as fast as I did, who knows what would have happened to me? Maybe it would have been too late. Maybe the demon would have used me as its vessel, and I wouldn't be here today. So I just want to warn you all. If you're ever out in the woods and you see a doll sitting there on a tree, don't touch it. Just leave it alone. Don't make the same mistake that I did, because because believe me, I wish I had never found that doll in the first place. It all started when I was researching online to try and figure out who this doll belonged to and why it was out here in the middle of nowhere. That's when I found this website. This website had a ton of information on it about haunted dolls and cursed objects, and let me tell you, it was a gold mine. I learned about the history of haunted dolls and how some of them are actually cursed. I learned about the different types of demons that can possess dolls and how they use them as vessels to enter our world. I even learned about the rituals that some people perform to try and summon demons using dolls. But there was one thing that caught my eye in particular. There was a section on the website that talked about how to tell if a doll is possessed. And as I read through the list, I realized that every single one of these items applied to the doll that I had found. I learned that a possessed doll will often make regular human-like noises, and I had heard scratching and tapping sounds coming from the doll whenever I was near it. I also learned that possessed dolls will sometimes move on their own. And I had seen the doll move when I had initially found it. It had its hand raised like it was trying to grab onto something. I knew in my heart that this doll was possessed. I knew that whatever demon was inside of it was waiting for me to bring it home, so that it could use me as its vessel. But I didn't listen. I brought the doll home anyways. And the moment that I did, all hell broke loose. The demon inside of the doll began to stir, began to grow stronger, and as it grew stronger, it started to influence me, started to control me. I could feel it whispering to me, trying to convince me that it wasn't real, that it was all in my head. It tried to trick me, but I knew the truth. I knew that I was in danger. I could feel the demon growing stronger inside of me. I could feel it taking over my body, trying to use me as its vessel. I could feel it clawing at my insides, trying to break free, and the only way to get rid of it was to destroy the doll. But I waited too long. I hesitated. And that hesitation gave the demon enough time to take over. Before I knew it, I was no longer in control of my own body. The demon had taken over completely. I could feel it using me as its vessel, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. It began to speak through me, and the words that came out of my mouth were not my own. It spoke of darkness and evil and destruction, and I couldn't control it. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I wanted to move, but I couldn't. I was trapped inside my own body, watching as the demon used me to do its bidding. And the worst part was, I knew that it was only the beginning. If you want to see what happens next, stay tuned because there's more to come. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.